and collaborating with luminaries such as David Monroe, the incredible string band, Peter Bellamy, and many other pivotal figures. Shirley told me, many years after we first met, that she was writing the memoirs of her time spent travelling and collecting songs in the States with Alan Lomax. I was delighted to receive the first draft, but on reading it, felt it was only half accurate, missing out so much of what I wanted to read about her own life and experience in North America. She had left out practically all information on herself, and the book read as an account of Alan Lomax's quest, with a retiring young girl from Sussex assisting, who occasionally mentioned herself. It seemed to me to be a great injustice to a woman whose influence and art has so greatly affected so many people, both musicians and listeners, within the folk world and without. Over many rewritings, Shirley thankfully overcame her modesty to write this luminous account of her time in America, interspersed with memories of her family life and how she entered the world of folk music. This book is a touching and important document, an account of the meeting of different cultures in different times, seen through the eyes of a charismatic and courageous woman who, researching these often ignored expressions of the outcast and marginal, asserted the profound humanity of those who gave voice to it. In these pages we see that the spirit of the deepest and simplest beauty abides in small places. It is also about a woman whose quiet determination and unending interest in people and their stories enabled the whole project, as originally conceived by Alan Lomax, to be carried out. Without Shirley, much of that which is recounted here would have disappeared. The record of African-American, Anglo-Celtic, North American, and British song itself would be a ghost of what it is now. She changed absolutely the world of folk music, world music, and even psychedelic music by what she brought into it. And her influence increases. She is our nearest star. Thank you. David Tibet, current 93, London, March 17th, 2004.
Introduction 2022. Over the years, I had almost stopped thinking about the time I lived in America back in 1959. It seemed so far away and so long ago. But that all changed when my mother told me she still had all the letters I had sent home from the States when I was working with Alan Lomax on the field recording trip that would later become known as the Southern Journey. When I read the letters, memories came flooding back, and with the encouragement of Pip Barnes, my oldest and dearest friend, I started to write. There was so much material, though, that I didn't know how to start the book, convinced that I needed a first line before I could continue. The eventual solution was simplicity itself, as you will see. Then another problem arose. It seemed so unlikely that in 1959, such a different time for nowadays, a 24-year-old working-class girl from Sussex should be on a field recording trip in the southern United States, working with America's leading folklorist. I felt I had to explain the backstory to make this credible, how my passion for traditional folk song had ultimately and quite miraculously led to meeting Alan. So I started with my childhood in Hastings. I wrote the first 11 chapters, and then the subsequent part of the America story, all painstakingly typed on an Amstrad word processor, and showed it to Pip. His first reaction? A rather bewildered, "You've called the book America Over the Water. I'm halfway through it, and you're still in England." There needed to be a solution, and Pip came up with it. Simply alternate the chapters. Little did I know when I wrote the book in 2004 how my life would change. And now 17 years on, here is the new edition of America Over the Water, my take on that unique field trip of 1959. In 1993, just after it was published, Alan had sent me a copy of his book, The Land Where the Blues Began, with a handwritten dedication.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.